Experience the future of packaging and processing up close and in action. Explore groundbreaking innovations, engage with hands-on solutions, and connect with the experts transforming the industry. See how these advancements can revolutionize your products, production lines, and business. It all starts here. Don't miss out. Register today at packexpolasvegas.com/unpackedpod. You're listening to Unpacked with PMMI, where we share the latest packaging and processing industry insights, research, and innovations to help you advance your business. Hi, and welcome to another edition of Unpacked with PMMI. I'm your host, Sean Riley, and today I'm joined by my good friend Jorge Izquierdo, Vice President of Market Development at PMMI. Every year, Jorge's team puts out a packaging machinery report that is without peer. The State of the Industry report offers the most up-to-date stats, estimates, and analysis on the U.S. and Canadian packaging machinery industries. Jorge, I can't thank you enough for taking the time from your constant global travel to discuss packaging industry growth over the past 2 years and your expectations for 2020 and beyond. So without further ado, welcome, Jorge.
Hey, Sean, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
The pleasure is all mine, Jorge. So now that we got that all out of the way, why don't we start out with, I guess, a kind of an easy one, even though it's very broad. How is the health of our packaging and processing industry right now?
Well, I would say currently the packaging machinery industry in the U.S. is healthy and growing. Based on our latest PMI's State of the Industry report, our domestic shipments of packaging machinery grew by over 6% in 2018, and it reached close to $9 billion. So in general, it's pretty good. The total market itself grew at a faster rate. 8.8%. So the total market right now, Sean, it's just over $11 billion. And if you do the math, you say, oh, wow, so the market is growing faster than the shipments from U.S. manufacturers. The answer is yes, and that means we are importing a significant amount of equipment as well because of the fastest growth pace of the market, relatively strong dollar. Imports of packaging machinery are relatively cheaper than they used to be, so they are growing at a faster rate. Imports of packaging machinery during the period growth at a rate of 19.5% to reach close to $2.5 billion. That's about 22% of the market. And it's normal, I guess, depending on the exchange rate and other issues. The imports of packaging machinery normally fluctuate between 20 and 25%. But I guess just answering your question in simple and a short phrase, it's we're doing well and the industry is growing.
That's fantastic. How does that compare, let's say for the past, I guess we're 2020 now, or let's say since, 2013, 2014, how is it? Has it been an upward climb? Has it been a steady? How has it looked since then?
Well, I guess, starting in 2015, we had a relatively slow growth at about 1%, just under 1%. But since then, we've kept getting a very strong growth. 2016 was 3%. 2017 and 2018 are very similar, just over 6%. So we're maintaining a very healthy growth in the past few years.
Going back to, you said 2015 kind of had a smaller growth. What's driving the growth that's caused it to, go up a little bit more, to be a little more healthy, a little more robust? What are the things out there that are causing that?
Well, I guess we can, in terms of drivers, maybe we can divide them in two big groups of drivers. I would put on one hand consumer and retail drivers.
Okay.
And that would include things like all these trends in terms of health and wellness, convenience, personalization, sustainability, premiumization, and e-commerce. That's on one hand. On the other hand, I would put automation, and maybe the one that's having the strongest impact in the past couple of years and maybe driving most of this growth is what we will call workforce challenges. A big part of this is labor, just lack of labor not necessarily willing to work on the manufacturing space. But in general, it's not just labor; it's operators, even engineering positions. And in addition to that, it's also, these new technologies, flexible manufacturing, smart technologies, IIoT, robotics. All those technologies are offering new opportunities to manufacturers, and they are all looking to take advantage of these technologies, savings, and increasing productivity.
Fantastic. I don't know that of these pods that we've done so far that the workforce issue hasn't come up in everyone, even if we weren't talking about things that had to do with the industry. So that's clearly a theme that's running through these. I guess diving a little bit deeper into the specific industries, are there customer segments that are doing particularly better than others?
Well, these past years, I guess 2018 was particularly strong for pharma. It grew at a rate of about 8.4%. And beverage and food, both, they grew at 6.6 and 6.1 respectively. And when you talk about these three segments, that's got to be about 85%. Maybe getting closer to 90% of the market for packaging machinery. So again, it's broad. I mean, in terms of where the growth is coming from. But I would say number one would be pharma.
Interesting. Do you have any particular reason why you think pharma would be growing, or just ebb and flow?
I guess would be several reasons. Certainly legislation, traceability requirements, but also pharma is moving more and more into manufacturing shorter batches, and that requires different type of equipment. That requires equipment to be more flexible, and that's kind of one of the reasons that's moving investment in the segment.
Well, then, speaking of machinery, what categories would rank as kind of the high performers, or the ones that are out there being sold and bought the most?
Well, it's I guess filling in general, form, fill, and seal in particular, as you know, the trend moving towards more flexible. It's there, and also different technologies that they're in general designed to extend shelf life. With all this trend on getting rid of additives and conservatives, manufacturers of food products, they are relying more and more on technology to extend shelf life. And I'm talking about technologies that are not necessarily new, but they are just being used more extensively. And that would be things like modify atmosphere, vacuum packaging, high pressure processing. So it's pretty much anything that extends shelf life.
Sounds good. Okay, that kind of covered us leading into, I know we're in 2019 now. How's this year looking so far?
So, I'm going to bring some data from another report that we put together. It's a report that we call the quarterly business indicator. Every quarter, we ask, I would say, about 100 of our members and 100 of our members' customers. That's CPGs, and we ask them, "Hey, how's business? How are you doing? How are orders of packaging machinery going so far this year?" And it's very interesting. Again, there's our two different groups. We asked the same question, and for the past several years, they have been very consistent in terms of their answers. They are not exactly the same in kind of the buyers of packaging equipment. They tend to feel they are buying more than what the sellers of packaging machinery feel they are buying. But the trend is very consistent, and the numbers that we get for the last quarter that we measure, it's these are numbers that we released for August. We're very optimistic. This is a dispersion index. This basically means is anything over 50 means growth, anything under 50 means contraction. And both groups, sellers of packaging machinery, are rating, the degree of activity in terms of selling of packaging machinery at about 57%. And it's interesting, buyers are much more optimistic here. They are rating it at 70%. So as you can see, there's a lot of optimism in terms of investment on the buyer side. And to be honest, Sean, I think we both were at PAC Expo, Las Vegas this year. Just by the level of activity at the show, the feedback we got from exhibitors, we think that it's consistent. There's a lot of optimism, a lot of push towards investment on packaging equipment in 2019.
Interesting. So you gave me that information. How are OEMs taking that quarterly business indicator and backlog, and what are they doing with that information?
Well, something, it's very interesting. Many of our members use this information to track, for example, how their sales are doing in different segments. For example, as we are reporting that pharma has been growing significantly, is that true for their own business? That's, I guess that would be number one. Also, as they compare, their specific type of equipment, let's assume they're on cartoning equipment, they can benchmark, in general, how the whole industry for the specific cartoning segment are doing. Is the cartoning segment growing? How much? Are you ahead or behind? And you can also have a kind of an idea of what's the share of the market. I guess those are the 2-3 main ways our members are using this information.
Terrific. So it's obviously very useful and something that the members who aren't using it should probably be taking a look at. All right. With that, kind of hit on 18, how 19's looking. Any ideas or any clues that you can take from the report that's going to tell us, what we can look for in 2020?
Well, yes, actually our quarterly business indicator, we also ask about the expectation for next year. These numbers are from August. Our next business indicator will be released early November. But the numbers that we have from August are, again, they're very optimistic. It seems there's a lot of projects out there. I guess certainly early 2020, mid-2020, we are expecting a very robust year in terms of packaging machinery sales. And I would say in many of the segments, interestingly enough, household chemicals are very optimistic. Household chemicals and personal care are both very optimistic. But in general, they are all over 60% in terms of likeliness of investment. So they're pretty good. And this is interesting, Sean. When you look at the information out there, for example, the Purchasing Management Index for manufacturing is right now under 50%, so indicating kind of a slowdown in manufacturing. However, for packaging machinery, for our industry, we're still very, very healthy and pushing hard. I'm really looking to take a look at the numbers, fresh numbers that we'll be getting in November and see if how the buyers of packaging machinery are feeling about this. I think they're going to still feel strong about it. We are expecting maybe a kind of a slowdown in terms of the growth, maybe towards the end of 2020.
All this sounds great. It's the usual positive Jorge Izquierdo that I'm used to, but I have to bring up that I've definitely heard rumblings in the mainstream news about that we've finally hit the point where the manufacturing end is starting to feel the effects of whether it's a slowdown or, even worse, a recession, something of that sort. So after all that good stuff that you said, why in the mainstream might we be hearing kind of the opposite, that it's starting to slow down? How would you explain that?
Well, I guess number one, you've said it earlier. Many of the things we're finding, I guess one of the main drivers for what's happening in this industry is labor, workforce challenges, lack of labor, lack of access to labor. While yes, if somehow the economy slows down, it's very likely that labor might become more available in general. We're expecting that the amount of pressure on immigration, kind of restricting immigration, And also, the general reluctance of the workforce to go to the plant floor, that will maintain the pressure in terms of the need to invest in automation. And it's very interesting, Sean. It's not just the large companies that are looking at this. I guess there's a strong push on small, medium companies that rely a lot on labor to invest significantly in coming years. If you look at segments like, for example, contract packaging, they normally rely on labor to address their flexibility challenges. Many of the brand owners rely on contract packagers because of their flexibility, and contract packagers tend to be very flexible because they do have a significant amount of labor to work with, and they are suffering a lot in terms of availability, and they are really looking for automation. So again, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to impact significantly. It's going to kind of contraction in our industry. Yes, we're expecting to see a slow in terms of the growth. Maybe again, we had 6% last year. We're expecting to have at least another 6% this year. And maybe what we're going to find next year, it's going to be maybe 5%. I don't think we're going to go under 4%. You look at the orders on our members, the backlog of our members on our members' books, and it's pretty solid. So certainly we're expecting 2020 to be a good year for our members.
So no panic is coming out of the lips of Jorge Izquierdo. So with that in mind, what are your predictions for the future of our industry?
Wow, that's a good one, Sean. Well, I would say, number one, certainly just going on with the workforce theme, as workforce will remain one of the key challenges for the industry and for the country in general. We'll keep driving investment in equipment. And this is not just automation. This is also how automation is deployed and goes to, for example, how easy it's to train your staff for using this type of equipment, but also, a little more on kind of how the type of products our members, the OEMs, the manufacturers of equipment, are offering to the manufacturers of consumer packaged goods. If you look at how we are offering equipment solutions now, I think that will be changing significantly in the next few years. Many of the automation that now is accessible for all the manufacturers, they're offering a lot of advantages in terms of data, how to acquire data. It's cheaper to acquire that data. It's cheaper to store the data, and it's cheaper to process the data. So the challenge for many of our members is going to be is how you're going to make a difference for your customers on using that data, and how you will be changing your business model in terms of just selling equipment, a physical asset, into how you're going to be offering solutions and maybe services based on data. And I think that's going to be changing in the coming years. And I mean, it's already changing, but it's speeding up. I think we're going to see a lot of changes in 3-5 years from now. The business model from selling, where it's not capital investment but operational investment in terms of data services, that's going to be very interesting. And of course, the other area that we are all finding lots of changes is sustainability. There's a lot of pressure on many materials, plastics mainly, a lot of new developments. Could be paper, could be different substrates, could be different formulations, plastics that could be recyclable. And I guess our members, they are not converters. Most of them, they do packaging equipment. But if materials change, the way the type of equipment we're using is going to be changing. So again, it's a lot of flexibility, not just in terms of size and shapes, but in terms of types of materials used for packaging. I think those would be my three picks, and what are the three major things that will be shaping the industry in coming years, Sean?
I like it. That's fantastic. Big data and sustainability are definitely things that everyone is going to have to keep pace with if they want to keep pace with everybody else. I really want to thank you, Jorge, for taking time out of what I know is a busy schedule to come on here with us.
Sean, again, it's always nice to chat with you and to your audience. Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening to Unpacked with PMMI. Be sure to join us next time for more packaging and processing industry insights. Please rate, review, and subscribe. To do that, go to the iTunes podcast or Spotify app on your phone and search for Unpacked with PMMI.